All right, so good evening there, guys, and welcome to the lovely interview with Nick. Nick, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm warmer now than I was last night.
Lovely weather conditions for a football match.
Well, I mean, I would love to say yes, but obviously, due to the fact that it was absolutely pouring it down, I'm not going to say yes. But no, it was an unusual one, shall we say? Obviously, just before kick-off, what was going through your head before the game started? Because obviously, with the conditions,
So, I mean, in terms of that, pretty much prep is always the same, doesn't change regardless of the conditions. But obviously, we discussed it in the changing room. We discussed what way we wanted to go in the first half, and Stotfold actually turned us round into the way we wanted to play. So it worked in our favour, playing with the wind in the first half and hoping that it died down a bit in the second. Which, to be fair, it did. It got better in the second half. So it worked to some extent. But those first half conditions, well, the conditions in the whole game, but definitely the first half, the wind, there was no massive amount of quality played in that weather, in those weather conditions, with the rain and the almost gale force winds. So, but look, I've got to start by saying, a local derby, nearly 150 people came out for it. The energy from the crowd, and I felt there were a lot of fans last night behind us, a lot of support. You probably heard the applause at the end. And that was amazing. And the boys all commented on it, they all felt it. And that was a big contributor to what was a very hard fought point in the end. So obviously on the night we probably could have put a chance or two away. As we were talking about last night, we had a couple of good chances, probably two or three, but they also had chances, and Ollie pulled off a couple of really good saves, one down to his right, one that he tipped onto the bar. Their keeper's done the same. And yeah, it was just a case of making sure that we play the conditions well, we keep that grip that we've shown recently, the togetherness within the group, and it got us through the game.
yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't easy for the goalkeepers, as both keepers on when they were kicking from left to right. Obviously, the wind was going into the keeper there, and as you say, Ollie did a few fantastic saves towards the end of the game, which there was a few controversial free kicks, I would have said, towards the end. But yeah, I mean,
in terms of the kicking, I mean, Liam Gooch is one of the best kickers or distributors in the league, and I felt last night Ollie really played the conditions well. So we spoke about it at half time in terms of now we're going into the wind. Obviously we didn't know that it was going to die down, but we said hopefully it would die down a little bit, although it didn't really die down a great deal. And it seemed that every time he got a goal kick, the wind picked up again. It was just one of those kind of sod's law things. So, but yeah, he dealt with it well. We spoke at half time about anything that's in the air needs to be kind of driven just above head height, not really looped high. A lot of the goal kicks in the first half against us were very high, and they were hardly reaching the halfway line. I don't think a single one reached the halfway line. Some of them didn't even clear what I call the third line of the pitch. So,
yeah,
we Ollie had to do really well in playing the conditions there to get us up the pitch, and I thought he handled that very well.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think everyone had a few issues with the weather, but again, at the end of the day, you've all got to play. So obviously, I was going to say, how proud are you from the point that you got from last night?
No, I think every time we talk, I say pretty much the same thing about the age of the side. Last night, our five of the back line were two 17-year-olds, two 18-year-olds, and a 21-year-old. You know, it's a really, really young side, and there's a good amount of experience in there as well that's helping these young players progress. But you know, these young players have now got 15 to 20 games under their belt, which is why we're starting to see the togetherness and the difference and the learning every game. You know, and what I'm seeing recently, and you who obviously come and see games as well, will hopefully see this from the sidelines. But I was watching the footage back from last night, earlier today, and there's mistakes we made on Saturday against Bottom that obviously we didn't have a training session in between, so I've sent clips into the group pre yesterday's game for the boys to have a watch and look at my notes. And there's mistakes that we made in that game that weren't in yesterday's game. The same thing, but we dealt with it exactly how we should deal with it. And this is, you know, all the players, but the younger players taking on board, and that's a massive part of their development. You know, also the concentration. Our back line last night, I don't know how many offsides there were. There must have been, we must have played them offside at least 10 times in the whole game, you know, and to do that for 90 minutes requires a hell of a lot of concentration, especially against an experienced side that are currently top of the league. You know, they've got a lot of momentum behind them. So to do that for 90 minutes with the side that we have in, you know, the whole side, but the young side, you know, our experienced players, most of them are still under 25. Most of them are 23, right? We've only got 3 or 4 players that are over the age of 25 and 30. So it's the same thing that I keep saying, but it does take time to gain that experience, and you know, 5 games at senior level is not experience. You need a good chunk of games under your belt, and we're now in that area. And look, it was 2 good points the last 2 games. The encouraging thing was that we were the better team in both games. In most people's opinions, that's just not me just saying that, in most people's opinions. And that's really encouraging, because that's 2 teams in the top 5 in the league. You know, Bottom were 5th and obviously Stotfold are top. So really encouraging, but we're still near the bottom and we've still got a long way to go. But a mini 5-game unbeaten run is nice. It's something to build on. And now we go into a very, very hectic, or continue a very hectic period. You know, we've got another 5 games in 2 weeks now. You know, it was 7 in 3. It's now 5 in 2. And the pitch is not going to get any better because we've had another onslaught of rain today. So we've got to keep doing the right things and keep building on it. You know, it was a great point. Great for the boys to appreciate their achievement last night. But now we move on to Saturday's game against Dunstable.
I was just about to say, leading into the next question is obviously with Dunstable coming up, another team that are doing all right, another local derby. As we spoke about it before, the last time we spoke is most of the games around now seem to be local teams because of how it's been structured, which gives it a bit more interest, I feel, because your local teams, you don't want the other ones to beat you, have the bragging rights. But no, with the pitch as well, I thought considering the amount of rain that we've had and a few of the other games around near Arlesey had been called off because of the weather, I think the pitch has been fantastic, especially when you think there's 2 teams that play on there as well.
Yeah, we really wanted yesterday's game on. It was, you know, to keep that momentum going, it was important for us. Chris got down to the ground about 2:30 and called me, and his name came off my phone, and I was like, oh no. And he was like, well, there's a little bit of standing water in the goal mouth, but I'll get the fork out and I'll sort that out. And he worked his magic on the pitch, so we were able to go with it. And the pitch was fine, to be honest. It was obviously soft, but it was fine to play on. But the technical area was probably the worst part. And at the end of it, it was like standing in a mud bath. But yeah, Dunstable's a localish game. Obviously, we didn't play them that long ago in terms of the number of games because of the long break with the frost and the snow. But it was a real game of two halves, that one, and that's a bit of a cliche, but that was really for me the game that we started to turn our performance. We made a massive change at half time in that game, and from then our performances have kicked on to what they've been recently in terms of the all-round game of it. You know, it's not, our performances have always been reasonably good, even when we were losing games, but that game seemed to be a bit of a turning point. And then since then, we've obviously had some really good results. We had the one loss after that, which was different circumstances, shall we say. If you're at the game, you'd know what I was referring to about that. And then we've been on this unbeaten run. So I do see that game as a bit of a turning point. They're obviously top half of the table, and it's going to be another tough game. But like I've said in every interview, every game in this league is a tough game, because I genuinely believe that pretty much every team can beat every team on their day in this division. So yeah, it's a tough game, but we'll approach it in the same way we have the last five, in the same way that we have all season, and make sure that we prepare well for it.
I mean, as you say, the fact that you've said the progression from obviously the Dunstable game, it's going to be a nice turnaround to see how well you are doing at the minute now, and the progression from that game. So it'll be a test for the boys, and I know they all love looking at the catapult numbers and stuff like that, because they've seen an improvement week in, week out. And I say, in the changing room yesterday, literally all they were doing was hovering around that board and just trying to see who had done what, which is good to see. It gives them competition between themselves.
You know, the catapult GPS system that we've been lucky enough to get, and that we've spoken about a few times now, has been a massive help in terms of what we've been doing over the past few games. And last night again, you know, the data shows similar to what it's shown since we've come in with it. And the boys, like you said, last night on the board, I had the last 4 games worth up on the board, and they were, you know, it just creates a little bit of banter before in the changing room. Everyone's comparing their times, top speeds, all of that kind of stuff, distance covered, and it makes a massive difference. But it also helps us, because it allows us to properly plan. You know, they're wearing it at matches, they're wearing it at training, and we can properly plan and assess what we need to do with different players to ensure that we're getting the best out of them throughout the week and for matches. So it's a great bit of kit. It's brought a lot to the team so far, and we haven't even touched the surfaces with it, you know. And in the next few weeks, we're looking to bring an opportunity to local sports scientists, or you know, any people in the local community or even students that are studying it, to get involved as well. But more will be announced about that in the coming weeks. But it's not just for the players in terms of that. There's a community aspect as well.
And obviously, just on the subject of the game, I know we announced Gucci as man of the match. I didn't quite get a little reason for it, as it was a quick one. Obviously, I had to get home because I was up early in the morning. But yeah, what was the reason for Gucci? I know he loved it as well. So
he he was playing in the position that Will, because I wanted to rest Will last night. He's played a lot recently, and he was playing in the position that Will's taken up, which is a bit of a unusual position. I'm not obviously going to give away any of our tactics, but I'm asking that position to do something that position would not usually do. And Gucci came in and did it for the last kind of 25 minutes against Baldock. Did very well, but found it very tough. And I thought for 70 minutes last night, he was outstanding there. And it's not an easy task for the position that he normally plays to what I'm asking him to do. And the only thing that would have topped it off last night with him was putting that header away, but against his brother, he probably didn't want to score. So he put it slightly past the post. But yeah, so he was brilliant from start to finish. But again, similar to the Potton game and similar to all the games recently, there's been so many standout players. As a team, everyone has stood out. You've got Bruno leading with his experience and really commanding the pitch. You've got AT breaking up the game in the way he does. You've got our front line creating chances, putting players through. You've got Tom playing as a left back at left wing because Sadasi's been recalled to Hartford at the moment. So, and then our back line, like I said, we've got, I would say, probably the youngest back line in the league as an average age. I think we've probably got the youngest side in the league, starting 11 in the league, but definitely as an average age, that's the youngest back line that I've seen in the league. So anyone really could have got it. Ollie made that outstanding save in the last 10 minutes down to his right, to push the ball away. So really anyone could have got it, but Gucci got it because it's an unconventional thing I'm asking him to do for what he's used to doing. So that was the reason why I gave it to him.
No, yeah. Again, as you touch on the fact, from watching the game, I would never have thought that the back line was as young or, as young as you've just said. You know what I mean? Like they all played superb. You can see him gelling as a team. You can see him from obviously the start of the season to now. You can see how much they've improved and how much they've grown together, and under you and Malcolm as well.
And I think, I think, like you just said, you can see their development has gone, and they've had to buy into it. They've had to stick with a very turbulent time at the start of the season, and trust the process, and they've done that, and they've, everyone puts the team first. When players don't get on, they understand that the reasons why they haven't got on. And again, last night I made changes because we've had to make changes. It's no different in any game, not just for the sake of making changes. And some players have travelled quite a distance to the game and not got on. One of the players who's new to the side comes from the other side of London, and he's come to the last two games and not got on the pitch. And I sent him a message today, and all I got back was no problem. It's about the team, and I'm glad we got the point. And that's a fantastic attitude to have, and everyone in the team has that attitude because everyone puts the team first, and that's something that we were very hot on from the start. And we got rid of the players that weren't with that mindset, that brought into that culture. And you can see how everyone's laughing and joking, and it's just a good team atmosphere where everyone wants the team to do well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were talking about the team bonding, and at the laugh that we got when you said about Dan having to get an Uber.
That kind of sums up what I'm talking about, right? So he couldn't get the train because unfortunately there was a problem on the train tracks, and he lives in Edmonton Green, and he had to get an Uber from Edmonton Green to Arlesey, and I'm not going to say how much it cost, but it was extremely expensive. But that's that's what these players are doing to be part of the team and for their teammates, and that's a massive part of this culture that we're trying to build and that we've built. And the boys have fully bought into it, and you can see that coming out in their performances now, and the fact that they've grown and developed so much as a team.
No, yeah, definitely. So we'll leave it there. Obviously, there is a game on Saturday at 3:00 at home against Dunstable. So we will carry on the success through how we've done so far. I know, obviously, I said to you the other day about the interview after the game. We'll be positive, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And let's make sure that we get the same kind of support that we had last night. You know, because that energy is massive for the boys, and it carries the performance as well.
Well, there we go, Nick. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you Saturday, and hopefully we'll see a few of you.